Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message on parents and grandparents who force their will. On parents and grandparents who force their will. You see, if you have been walking with the Lord for quite some time, you know that God has His will, right? His will for our lives. And being that He created us, being that He knows the desires of our heart, being that He is the source of eternal life, it would make sense to follow His will. He has a long track record of being perfect in all that He does. But, of course, man and his criticisms and his skepticism and all the things above, he tends to think that he is God and that he knows what is best. He believes himself to be perfect. He will enforce his will to get his selfish needs met. Now, those of you all who have looked back on your life, you can see during those times where you were told to do something or else. You can also relive some of those moments, if you will, where someone enforced their will upon you. And you remembered how it felt, right, back then. You remembered when they said some things, did some things that made you feel powerless. That was an individual who felt like their needs, their will, their power, their control was more significant, more important than anyone and anything else, and didn't care that the relationship with you would be destroyed, didn't care that you may not get along with the other family members, didn't care about your future relationship and how your parenting might be affected as a result of all of what you went through. You see, these individuals who enforce their will, who feel like they are demigods and that they have no reverence for the one true God. You see, they're made of mind and body, but they ignore the spirit. They are going to not just do it to you, but do it to others. And you saw this sort of thing take place. Once truth came out, the family secrets were revealed. It wasn't just me. Other people experienced something similar with this person. It was daddy's ex-girlfriends. It was mommy's ex-boyfriends. It was the aunts and the uncles who went through much and then put a lot of their dysfunction onto other people. I mean, the cousins suffered, you see. We start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Now that many of us are older, we are parents and some are grandparents. And if you aren't careful, the same manipulation, power, control that was used on you, you just might use it on others. But mama said it was love. So shut your mouth, Nicole. You don't know what you're talking about. And daddy said that he cared about me. And he is doing all these things for other folks. So you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yes, of course, the brainwashed, they rise up against you because you start showing them examples of how they were mistreated and now how they are mistreating others. Whether it's sexual, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's emotional, guilt tripping, shaming, gaslighting, isolation, whether mama, daddy, grandma, grandpa got a personality disorder, the point is wrong, right? Truth is truth. Sit back, think a little while. What could you be doing that could potentially cause problems in your relationship with your daughter, with your son, with your granddaughter, with your grandsons? Are you insisting that things go your way? I tell you, some of us, we picked up on this early in life. And you know what they told us? You better go play. You better stay out of grown folks' conversation. You better sit down somewhere and shut your mouth. And then as we got older, we started seeing more things. And then we started pushing back because, see, when I was a child, I spoke like a child. But when I became a man, I put childish ways behind me. You see, I stopped crying. Oh yeah, I was that sensitive one. What are you crying for? I'll give you something to cry for. But it doesn't matter what you don't like. But I feel I don't want to hear what you got to say. You just shut your mouth. And if they had an idea, whatever that idea was, and you might be that one right now, whatever that idea is that pops up in your mind in the middle of the day and you think it's a good idea, and then you run it past your daughter or your granddaughter or grandson or son, and they don't agree with it, how do you respond? How do you respond? Do you insist that they do it your way? Do you say that if you don't do this, that, or the other, and then you come up with this long laundry list of all these bad things that's going to happen? Are you that one that just stops talking for a whole week or 2 or 3 months, or maybe even a year plus, because he or she didn't take your idea, he or she wasn't listening to your advice, and, well, there are consequences when one doesn't listen to me, says mother, says father, says grandfather, says grandmother. What kind of parenting and grandparenting is really going on nowadays? What is all this family talk? You do this because we're family. You go over here because we're family. You accept this invite because we're family. And of course, many of these people, they're not going to talk so strong. They're not going to be so strict. They're not going to be so mean. I mean, come on now. There are those that are very sweet and nice in their manipulation. We've got, as I've said in other audio, cult-like family members. They run the family like they do a cult. You got some who are leaders in workplaces, and then they run their relationships with their children and with their wives and husbands and so forth like they manage folks on the job. You do this, you do that. Uh-oh, time for a performance review. Oh, let me see. What has my daughter done for me lately? Let me see. What has my son done? Nope. Didn't do this, didn't do that. Oh, there's consequences. We're going to kick this one out the wheel. Oh, yeah. We're going to make sure that we make their life very difficult. We're going to stop paying their bills. Yeah, honey, what should we come up with? Wow. And then the holiday season comes. Oh, baby, are you coming over? Oh, I just love you and the grandkids. But you see, we got some discerning grandchildren and great-grandchildren who sit back and say, I don't want to go over there. And then what do you say, parent? No, but you are going over there. That's my mother. No. Wait a minute. Hold up. You better watch saying what you're not going to do. Wait a minute. Hold up. Something's wrong, right? Something's wrong. Why would you insist that your child go over somebody's house? Doesn't matter how close you are, that they don't feel comfortable with. You see, that's why a lot of kids end up getting abused, because they know somebody's not right. It's like the dog that sees that spirit and he's barking and growling, but you don't see it. Well, the child can feel some things and see some things, and they don't want to go back over there. You see, it was okay to do it when they were babies, and it was okay when they were toddlers, and then it was okay when they were tweens, but then they got older and they became teens, and they started seeing that, no, I don't really want to be around these people because, well, grandma, she prejudiced. And this one over here, well, he's a drunk. And I know that my mother loves him so, but her brother is a fool. And then why you insist on me going over to that person's house when, wait a minute, they do all that cursing and everything else. But if I want to go over to my friend's house, you say that they're bad company. But their family is no different than your family, mother, father. And as I said in another audio, when they speak the truth to you, it doesn't mean that they're being disrespectful. Somebody needs to hear that again. When they speak the truth to you, it doesn't mean that they're disrespectful. Well, I don't like their time. I don't like this. I don't like that. Well, when a teenager is a teenager, they're not going to necessarily always say things in a way that we like. Okay? It's not going to always be pleasing to the tone of our ears. But truth is truth, though. If we can get past all of the sensitivity, right? And just listen to what people are telling us, then maybe we can correct ourselves before Lord Jesus corrects us. Because God's correction can be right out there where everybody can see it. God's correction can be, I'm talking to somebody. God's correction can show up in a letter. God's correction can show up when somebody stops calling. God's correction can show up when they stop showing up at the family events. God's correction can show up in so many different ways. And some people see they don't want to hear it because pride gets in the way. How dare you tell me this, that, and the other about my parenting, about my grandparenting? Yeah, but see, the problem though is that if you keep on doing certain things and forcing your will upon others, then what happens is you lose the very relationships you were trying to maintain. We all have seasons in our lives. There was a season where you may have remembered you didn't want your mama calling you all the time. There is that season where you didn't want your daddy checking up on you all the time. There's that season where you don't want to be bothered with family and you just want to enjoy your friends. Allow a person a season to go through a process toward change. Now, if they're falling by the wayside, well, of course, you got to talk to them and, consult with them and advise them. But even then, they get to an age where thank you very much for all your advice and your admonition and whatever else. But I am grown now. That's right. And then some people, they take offense to that when you say, I'm grown now. Some of you, all you 30, 40, 50 plus, and your parents still don't like the fact that you say that every now and again. But then now you got children and grandchildren, and when they are getting older and they're being more mature about some things and they start taking a stand, you want to shut them down. You want to tell them go to the room. You want to tell them be quiet. You want to tell them go over there and do this, that, and the other. Well, just hear me out. No, I don't want to hear what you have to say. You didn't say it enough. Could God be in that conversation? Could God be the one that's using that child to tell some real truth, but you shutting God's voice out? Because God can use children too. You do it my way. You say this, you say that. When you go over there, you better not say this, you better not say that. If you do, then I'll cut you off. Oh, I won't be in your life any longer. You hear me? After all I did for you and you did what you did? Oh, some people are very intimidating, very controlling, very threatening. Oh, but that's love, right? Last I checked, control is not love. Let's say that, everyone. Control is not love. God doesn't even act like that. He just wants to save us from some things when he warns us, when he tells us, don't do this and don't do that. It's not because he's trying to control us. He just wants to keep us out of the devil's snares. But you got some who, it's not even about that. It's about, I want you to do what I want you to do when I want you to do it. I am a demigod in your life. You gonna stand up when I tell you stand up. You gonna sit down when I tell you to sit down. You will go right when I tell you to go right. You'll go left when I tell you to go left. If I tell you to lie, steal, kill, cheat for me, you are family and you gonna stand up for family. You hear me? And if you don't, then there's consequences. I will cut you off. I will take from you. I will put you 6 feet deep if I have to, because I'm not going to have nobody come up against me. Woo, Jesus. That's the kind of preaching that some of these knuckleheaded parents and grandparents preach. And then all that tough talk, right? All that tough talk, they get away with that while they still got all that energy in them. Oh, they get away with all of that when they're still young and bountiful, right? You may not be that strong in all of your words that you say. You might have some other ones that you say. That's a little bit harsh, a little bit crazy sounding. But the thing is that sooner or later, folk gonna get old. Folk gonna get tired. Folks not gonna be able to move like they used to move. And they're gonna want people to come over and help them. They're going to want to play the little feeble, I'm so old role, trying to play on people's pity and sympathy and so forth to get some things done. And for some of these manipulators, it works. Oh, here she comes running. Other ones, it doesn't work. We know how you are. You ain't changed. So you expect us to be all sweet and nice and caring and loving and all that? Now that you're old? One day, I looked out the window and I saw 2 people, workers, and they were looking around for all the dead trees. And they started cutting these trees down, the ones that were rotten, the ones that no longer were producing blossoms and beautiful leaves. They cut them down. And the Lord spoke to me and said that as children become older and as parents and grandparents become older, if they're no longer producing, if they are no longer showing youthfulness, energy, right? Like the tree, they get cut down. And then we can go a little bit deeper with this too, right? Spiritually, if you as a believer, an older, more mature believer, are not producing the gifts of the Spirit, you know what happens? You start to see children and grandchildren distance themselves away. And that is what scares some of these people. That's what makes them act so manipulative and controlling and using what little bit of voice they still can boom. They see that they are being cut off. They are being pushed away. And it bothers them. I'm turning into that old person that I never wanted to be. I used to see in my youth the grumpy old man, the grumpy old woman. I used to see how they were acting, and I don't want that to happen to me. Oh, yeah. And God says, but it is happening, because during the time when you were producing, when you were doing really well, you could have reached out and showed genuine love. Now all you want to do is reach out for attention when you want some things done. And some of these people are foolish enough to think that God wasn't watching. Why is it that they're acting like this? Why is it that they're not treating me with respect? And oh, you know, the pity party, they go, yeah, well, they're treating me like that too. I don't know what got into these kids. What got into them? It's not what got into them. It's what you showed them, Father. It's what you showed them, Mother. You showed them selfishness, so they had a master's degree in selfishness. You showed them that you can lie real well, some of you all. And so then they learned how to lie just as good, maybe even better than you. You see, if you show children foolishness, unrighteousness, wickedness, dark things, manipulative things, they're going to emulate it sooner or later. Then you're not going to like it. And then one day they turn around and say, I learned from you. What you so angry about? Father, grandfather, grandmother, mother? What's wrong with you? Why are you acting as if you're so perfect? I saw what you did to my mom. I saw what you did to my sisters and my brothers. And now you expect me to be this way and that way? And then some folks, they're so close with the Lord that they'll still reach out and touch somebody, even when they don't deserve it. And that's because God is allowing them to do some things for their own personal peace. It's not so much about I'm doing this for my mama, my daddy, my sister, my brother, whoever else. Okay? It's because they're looking for peace. And they know that when that person passes away, they're going to be all right. Others, their peace is in quiet, in silence, in not coming around, in not picking up the phone, not participating in holiday celebrations. And yes, we can pray. We can pray that our children come to us. We can pray that our children call us. We can pray that our children remember us. That's all good. And they just might, but then they just might not. And when the might not comes, you got to say to yourself, what exactly is going on? Could it be that God is allowing these things to happen because of things that I've said, things that I've done, things that I haven't confessed, things that I have not repented from? People are watching. They're watching from afar. They're watching close. And sometimes parents and grandparents just are not exemplifying what God has called them to be. And there is a sure death for all of us. And if we don't do what God has moved upon our spirits to do before we close our eyes, well, there is no kingdom to inherit. There is no eternal life. Walking this walk requires obedience to the one true God. After one has said, I believe, he or she has to walk in that belief. You don't just say it. You got to be about it. You got to be proactive. You got to show that you're not just lip service grown, but that you are grown all across the board. And we got some elders that they're not that. They are nothing more than old teenagers, rebellious, stubborn, mean-spirited, angry often. So take a moment and think about where you can be a better example for your grandchildren and children. Think about what you can tolerate and what you can't tolerate. And one thing about it, don't push your children into doing some things that you know full well they don't want to do concerning parents and grandparents. If there's something going on in the atmosphere and they don't feel comfortable talking about it, you know what they do? They say, I don't want to go over there, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to pick up the phone. And if you get pushy with it, then you make yourself an enemy. Let them figure some things out on their own. Sometimes they want us to shut up. Just shut up. I don't want another speech, Dad. I don't want another threats, Mother. I don't need you to keep telling me that you want me to call you when I'd rather text you. I don't need you to keep telling me that I need you to come around when maybe I don't want to, because I'm trying to build my life. And you might be that one that's the codependent parent that's always looking for a problem to solve with a child. And then you beat them over the head because they're asking, or because they're relying on you, or because they have grown dependent on you. And that's wrong too. Some folks, they claim that they spoil their kids and they do so much for their children. And some of us will just laugh or smile about it, but they're doing their children a disservice. They're doing their grandchildren a disservice, because when the money runs out, when your time is short, when your energy is not there like it used to be, you're not going to want to keep that up, and that child's going to push back. How come grandma's not buying like she used to? She always used to do this and do that. And sometimes people equate money with care. So what do you think she's going to think, or he's going to think, that grandchild, when you stop doing? You don't care about me. Because if you cared about me, you would buy me like you used to. And if you don't want to send that message, then stop buying so much and start investing real time. Asking questions like, how was your day? And where would you like to go? And I'd like to spend some time and talk with you. I mean, approaching them from a perspective that isn't self-seeking, self-serving, selfish. So I hope that this message has resonated with some of you all, and that you got some of those questions answered as to why it is that children are just not taking up time with you. Okay? Sometimes there are things that we say and things that we do that push children away. And I tell you that for a long time, I was thinking about a lot. That's why I wrote the book, Tell Me, Mother, You're Sorry. And that's why I wrote the book, Say Goodbye to Dad, because there were a lot of folks that they had their share of issues too. The kind of issues where they were grappling with mothers, fathers, grandparents, and so forth. I thank you so much for taking this time out to listen. May God bless you. Please do check the description box for anything that might be of interest. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. If you would like to give, by all means, we do welcome donations, and thank you in advance.